Hello, and welcome to the Create a Life You Love podcast. I'm your host, Chantal Cox. My purpose is to empower and lift up others who know in their heart they're meant for more. More joy, more impact, and more passion. If you're ready to make a radical transformation and create a life that you love, then you have come to the right place. Let's do this. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Create a Life You Love video podcast, where we get to connect with people from all over the world to share tips and strategies designed to help you on your journey. So if you don't know me yet, I'm your host. My name is Chantal Cox. I'm an author, a speaker, a transformation neuro coach, and a certified life purpose coach. I specialize in helping women connect with their unique purpose and permanently remove the mental blocks that are holding them back so that they can step into an aligned and fulfilling life of impact. So quick reminder, this is being streamed live. So those of you with us, please feel free to put in the comments any questions in the chat, engage with us, and we will get to them as it makes sense in the flow of our conversation. If you are catching the replay, you can act just like you're watching it live. Just do hashtag replay and we will see it and interact with you then as well. If you are listening on a podcasting platform and you have a question for either of us, just reach out. Our links are going to be in the show notes. Okay, let's dive in. So I am super excited to be here today with Keshia Rice. Keshia is a dating coach for ambitious women of faith who teaches women how to ditch the struggle of love by prioritizing themselves. I love that. How are you doing today?
I am doing great. How are you?
Oh, just fabulous on this chilly Tuesday. Where
Yes,
are
other than the
you?
cold.
You're in the cold. Where are you located?
Atlanta.
Okay. And it's chilly down there, even though it's further south?
Yeah, we recently got snow. I'm originally from Greenville, South Carolina, so I was there when the snowstorm hit, and there was several inches on the ground. So Southern panic. But other than that,
Oh, I bet everyone drives super good in the snow down there too.
nah.
Oh man, the joys of winter, huh? So, well, I'm so excited to connect with you tonight and go ahead and share with us, like, what is your journey? How have you created a life that you love?
So I'm a preacher's kid. And growing up, I always felt like the church came first. You know, not like that God came first, because faith and spirituality are very important to me, but the the church, all the politics and the events and stuff like that. So, I got to a point where I started looking for attention in the wrong places. I started dating early. I was in a lot of really terrible, really crappy relationships. And I get into my first career, which was as a journalist, and I had the quarter life crisis. You know what I mean? I was, mid 20s, and again, in a crappy relationship. I wasn't very happy with my job. All my friends were posting all their marriages and babies and all that good stuff on social media. I remember going to church and that church's media team taking a picture of my friend and I, and she looks angelic and I look a hot mess. And I'm like, I can't even God right. You know what I mean?
I love that. I
So,
can't even God right. Been there.
so I get to this point where, you know, on the outside, like my life looked good, but on the inside, I felt terrible and miserable all the time. And one of my friends was getting married. I was planning her bridal shower, and I just one day broke down crying. Just started crying all over the invitations I was writing. And I just said, I was like, you know what? I don't know what type of life I want right now. I thought I chose the right career. I thought I chose the right friendship circle. I'm doing the dating thing and putting myself out there and trying to get, trying to find that relationship and all that good stuff. Um, and nothing's going the way that I want. And I was like, you know what? I don't know what I want, but this is not it. This is not it. So I ended up getting a better job and moving to Atlanta actually. And I started being much more intentional about the dating and love thing and not just, whatever happens. I started getting intentional about all the other areas of my life as well. And, I read the books, listened to the podcasts, got the therapy, hired the coaches, all that good stuff. And then I got to a point where I was seeing all these things happening for me, and I was seeing my life get to something that I could actually be happy with, something that, I could actually thrive and not just live to make it another day. And that's when I was like, you know what? I want to be the woman that I so desperately needed when I was at my rock bottom. And that's how I entered into coaching. And it was for me, coaching is just another added layer of I have a great support system now. I love my husband. I love what I do for a living. Just being able to give that support to help another woman find that same path. That's like there's a type of fulfillment in that I can't describe. And I think especially coming from not just my dad, coming from a family full of ministers, and also my family's a military family as well, like service,
Mhm.
and being able to find it in a way that I actually felt aligned with was just like that was the light bulb thing. That was the thing I needed.
Yes. Oh, I love that so much. And because that's just really encompasses everything that we're about here in the Create a Life You Love community is that you went through something and then you got to the other side through work, right? You read the books, you listened to the podcast, you went to therapy, love therapy, you hired the coaches. Obviously, we love coaches. um, but you did the work, you invested the time in yourself, and I think that's what people really struggle with the most is the time. I'm too busy, I'm too busy. It's a story you're telling yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And now that you're on kind of the other side, you're looking behind you and saying, how can I help others? How can I use what I've learned and the struggles I've gone through to help others who are facing the same thing? So I absolutely love that. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. So, share with us some tips that you have for those listening tonight and in the future for how that they could create a life that they love.
Yeah, that is why I love the name of your podcast. The create part of it, because when it comes to it, as a dating coach, a lot of times I encounter women who are in their late 20s and their 30s, their 40s, and so forth. And, I'll ask the question, why is it that you believe that you're not married right now or in a committed relationship right now? And oftentimes the answer is, I just thought it would happen. Like, I thought the man would just come along at some point, and he hasn't. And I see that in so many other areas of their life as well. They thought the job would come. They did the hard work. Of course, somebody's going to come along and promote them. Um, they thought that they might be healthier, especially as women get older and everything. And it's like nature, biology, as you get older, and I'm in my early 30s, so it's not like I'm like old, but you start to notice that like you have to start putting in some effort.
Right?
So
Like,
yeah.
nothing happens overnight, and it's not fair.
Yeah. But so when it comes to creating that life, you have to get really intentional. And what that looks like is one, getting clear on what it is that you want. And I mean being really intentional. Like to use the dating example, women come to me all the time. They're like, I want a man who has a sense of humor. does sense of humor mean that he laughs at your jokes or that he makes you laugh? Are you looking at someone who likes a South Park type humor or, more like an intellectual type humor? Because those are different types of partners, you know? So you have to be really clear on exactly what it is that you want because you could meet 10 different men with 10 different senses of humor and not find any of them attractive. So, this goes with every aspect of your life, being able to, get really clear and precise. I firmly believe that we speak our lives into existence.
Mm.
So when you are talking about what you want, you have to say clearly what it is that you want, not just sort of in the ballpark of what you think that you want. And then you have to, once you do that, you have to set boundaries and enforce boundaries that align with the things that you're asking for. This is probably the hardest thing that a lot of my clients struggle with because they want to be nice. Um, you're not being nice to people by being a false version of yourself. You're not being nice to people by thinking that if you do certain things to make them happy, that then they will treat you the way that you want to be treated or they'll act a certain way. That's manipulation. That's not niceness.
Mm.
um, you are not doing anyone any favors when you act in any kind of way that doesn't allow you to be at peace and content and happy. Because when you are those things, you are a better wife, you are a better mother, you are a better sister, a better coworker, so on. You know, when you truly love yourself first, and that is loving yourself enough to one, be self aware and hold yourself accountable, but also to truly ask for the things that you need, then you're better to the people who are around you. And the people who don't respect your boundaries are respecting a version that they can manipulate. That's not what you want. The other thing is, to that point, prioritizing your relationship with yourself and understanding. Again, I grew up in a Christian home, and there was a lot of talk of like, your relationship with God comes first. And this may sound controversial, but, there were times in my life where I felt that like God could do anything, but he wasn't going to do it for me because I just wasn't worthy.
Oh, yeah.
So when you don't have that great relationship with yourself and that foundation, even your spirituality falls apart. So, of course, all your other relationships are as well. And then, being in tune with your spirituality and what that looks like for you. I went through a whole period in my case of like, I minored in religious studies in college. So I studied Hinduism, Judaism, you know, Islam, all these different religions. And I went through a whole period of finding like what things resonated with me even in other religions. I went through a whole period of getting really clear on to me what a relationship with faith and spirituality looks like, and wanting to have a relationship, not like some dogma and like, yeah, I get a check mark in heaven because I went to church on Sunday. You know what I mean? Like real relationship. And having that foundation is what allows me to really take on the world because I have like the set foundation. I have this feeling of calm and peace. I have this belief that I co-create with God and that I'm well taken care of, but that I also have the ability to go out and make things happen for myself. And I'm able to better flow with life from that perspective.
Oh, yes, I love that. Um, you hit on so many amazing, like absolute golden nuggets that I want to go back and kind of unpack a little bit for our listeners. Um, Definitely, I think one of the main things that a lot of people struggle with, myself included, and I know it's a broad generalization, but I think it's a little more common for women than men, Not all, but but the boundaries, the setting of the boundaries. We do want to be nice. We do want to be sweet. We want to be liked. We want to be the peacemakers and please everybody. And so it's really hard in our heads sometimes to know the difference between setting a boundary and being mean, because we tell ourselves, oh, we don't want to hurt their feelings, but it's really setting a boundary, like what you shared. And so, for anybody that's listening, do you have any tips on how to do that? How to set the boundaries?
Yeah. So the best way to think about boundaries is this: boundaries are the things that are required to allow you to be a better blank. So, you know, in for me to be a good wife to my husband, um, one of the things that I need is when we first got married, he and I had completely different work schedules. And I would come home and he would be at home and he'd be like, "Hey, babe, how's it going? Like, what'd you do today? Who'd you talk to? Anything interesting happen?" And I'd be like, I can't. I just can't. And I had to set that boundary with him of like, "Hey, I love you so much. But when I walk through the door, please don't talk to me. Just
Right.
just give me like 15 minutes. That's all I need. I just need some time to decompress. And then like, yes, I would absolutely love to talk to you about my day. And I could have been a people pleaser and been like, okay, it's not a big deal. I should be so grateful that he wants to talk to me, that he wants to hear about my day. Like, women complain all the time that their men don't listen. And here he is wanting to listen to me. But I had to realize that in order to actually be a good wife to him, I had to have that time to decompress so that I wasn't like answering his questions like sarcastic and snappy so that I could hurry up and take a nap and things like that so that we could actually have a real conversation.
Yeah, what a great example. And so once you shared that with him and set that boundary and it was clear and there was kind of reasoning behind it, then was he able to respect that and it enhanced your relationship?
Yeah, and that is where you hit a really good point there. When you are setting boundaries, you have to do it intentionally. You have to know why you're setting this boundary. You have to understand how it improves the relationship, how you're allowed to be the better wife or daughter or mother or all that. You have to be able to communicate that with the person. And then you have to realize that there are some people who the only version of you that they're going to like is the version that they can manipulate. So,
Yeah. Yes.
when you set boundaries and you do it in a polite but firm way, people who love you will adjust. The people who refuse to adjust don't really love you, and that is not worth your time.
That's a hard message to hear, but yeah, 100%. Any recommendations? So, if it is somebody maybe in your family that you can't necessarily just be like, and I'm done with you, I'm writing you out of my life, you're not worth my time, and it's hurtful for you to be in my life. But then it's maybe, I don't know, a parent or a sibling or like somebody that you're going to continue having contact with. What recommendations would you have for that situation?
Yeah, so first of all, you have to consider all possibilities are on the table. There are times when you even have family members who are abusive and you might have to go no contact. And if that's the case, you know, that's the case. Get the support you need, have friends who will hold you accountable, see a therapist, do the things that you need to do so that you can be okay with that decision. But, make sure that you do know that that is an option. Now, if you're talking about keeping people in your circle, I always tell my clients they're the sun. You know, think of the solar system. There are people in our lives who are meant to be Mercury, and there are people who are meant to be Pluto.
I love
So sometimes when you are setting boundaries, well, always when you're setting boundaries, you also have to remember what should be the level of access that person has to you. So it may be that this person is not someone that you cut out of your life, but you may downgrade them. You may move them further down the solar system, as in there are certain topics you don't discuss with them, or you limit the amount of time that you spend with them. Or I recently had a situation like this with someone who she and I are friends. We talk on a regular basis, but she wanted to FaceTime all the time and have really long conversations. And I have a busy schedule. So I was like, look, I can FaceTime you for like 10, 15 minutes, or we can talk a little bit longer, but it needs to be a regular phone call so that like I can multitask or all that. You know, so you sometimes just have to move back the access a little bit. And, if this person starts to respect your boundaries more, you can always bring them back closer into your orbit. But I think especially for my clients, it's a lot easier for them to think of things in that way, to be like, you can still have a relationship with a person, but sometimes the relationship, the nature of it needs to change.
Mm, yeah, I like that. It's a great visual because they're still in your solar system, but they don't need to be the one that's taking all the energy or all the time.
Right.
Yeah, you can set boundaries with your time and your energy and the level of access that they have. Just like you said, that's perfect. Um, Another thing that you talked about that I really wanted to hit on, and now I'm trying to remember what it was because in my head I made a mental note. It was the first thing you talked about. Oh, really being clear about what you wanted. I just think that's so key. I have my business coach, my current business coach, has a saying that if you call and order a pizza and you're like, I just want pizza, and they're like, small, large, what type of crust, what type of toppings, and you're like, I just want pizza, like they're gonna hang up on you and be like, call back when you're ready,
Yeah.
right? And so, do you have any activities or exercises you lead your clients through that help them kind of really dig a little deeper into what they might want?
Yeah. So I have my clients journal. I always encourage free writing, which is kind of just like, taking pen and paper, writing the first thing that comes to your mind. Um, I've had experiences that I think is hilarious where like I've started free writing and it starts with, because I literally don't know what to write about. I'm writing out a grocery list. And, it goes from oranges and milk to, I can't believe he said that. That was so annoying. Like, it's like, oh, I've been holding things against my husband. Okay. Like, yeah. So that process helps. Also, just trying things and seeing what's right for you. So, you know, in the dating coaching, I have clients who've dated the exact same type of guy over and over and over again. And I'm like, expand your horizons a little bit more. You might learn that you like this type more than this type that you've been dating, or you might learn that there are qualities in this person that you want to look for in your next relationship. I tell my clients they're always going to meet a few Mr. Right Nows before they meet Mr. Right, and being able to explore your options gives you the chance to see, okay, this man wasn't perfect for me, but there were these qualities that I really admired about him, and as I move forward I think I want to look for those. um, and you can apply that to every other area of your life. Women talk to me all the time about being stuck in their careers. Volunteer someplace and see if you like that type of work, that line of work. um, take a class, audit a community college class, see if you're really interested in it, but don't be afraid to go out here and just explore things and try things. At some point in our lives we got to a place where we're afraid to suck. Um,
Yeah.
there is nothing wrong with sucking. Like, there are times where I'm bored and I doodle. My drawings are horrible. No one's ever going to see those. They will never see the light of day. Obviously, they're never going to make millions or anything like that, but it relieves some stress. And once you get into this place where you're like, okay, I'm going to try new things, I'm going to explore, and I'm going to be open to everything. I'm going to be open to the possibility that I go on vacation and love the place so much that I move there. Um, you'll be amazed at like what comes up, and you start realizing, huh, I never knew I was this kind of person, but apparently I am. Apparently I am the person who like will spend $5 on avocado toast, you know?
That's a good $5 spent right there.
Yeah. You know, apparently I am that person. And then once you start doing that, like, okay, this is what I want more of in my life. This is what I need more of in my life. Um, I didn't realize to this day, I tell people that even though I recommend journaling, I hate it. Um, but after I do it, like I always get so many insights and everything that I'm like, okay, I really didn't want to do this, but I'm glad that I did. And I never, my family was a very much, we don't like cry person,
Mm.
cry type people. So like that whole being emotional and stuff. And I was like, you know what? Emotional intelligence is important.
100%. Yeah.
Being able to be vulnerable with yourself is important. And it wasn't until I started doing those things that I recognized how much I needed those and how much to have been a journalist, I needed to improve my communication skills. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I love that you talk about journaling because I think so often, especially like in our American culture, like it's like go, 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 do, busy, busy, busy. And we're constantly, even when I'm driving, I'm listening to an audiobook or I'm on a walk and I've got an audiobook or a podcast or music or like constant noise, constant input. And so journaling really allows you the space to just be and let your brain kind of start processing some of those things and start uncovering some of those things. And it is so incredibly powerful. But yeah, until you kind of get that embedded in your routine and you see the value of it, it is weird. Like, we're not really taught to do that. Like, even as an educator, like when we're teaching writing in school, there's a prompt and there's a purpose and you're trying to meet the rubric and get the grade and there, so it's kind of counterintuitive from the way that we've been, a lot of us have been raised to journal just because and just for us.
Yeah, no, I had experience with a client where I told her to journal. And a lot of the women that I work with are perfectionists. So bless her
Yes.
heart. She came back our next session and she was like, oh look, like this is what I journaled about, and I created these discussion questions, and my plan to like research this and research that. And I pulled out my journal and I showed her, and I was like, look, there are days where my journal entry is a letter to God.
Mm.
There are days where my journal is free writing and it is chicken scratch and it makes no sense. There are days where my journaling for the day was one sentence. Uh, there's no perfect way to do it. It is understanding that this is the time that you're giving to yourself to be vulnerable with yourself, to just allow whatever flows, flows. There are days where I'm blissfully happy and like the only thing in my journal entry is like, thank you, God, for my husband and my family. That's all. That's all I need to say that day.
Yeah, I love that example. I'm like, are you talking about me? That is totally something that I would have done in my early journaling days. I've now there's no structure, it's just embedded into my morning routine, and I really enjoy that piece of it. Um, I mean, I do structure it in terms of I I have like a bulleted list of things I want to journal about, and so I start with gratitude, and then I even allow myself some time to just journal ideas, just free flow ideas, and I usually do that after I look at the priorities I set for myself the night before for that day of. So it's like, okay, as I'm thinking about what I'm going to accomplish today, ideas start flowing. And so they're really fun to just journal about. I'm like, well, what if I did this? And what if I did that? Um, and so, yeah, I really like journaling now. But in the beginning, it was hard. I needed this more structure and I needed more of a purpose, other than like there is a huge purpose of what it does for our emotional intelligence and for our growth. But there's not like a, and then I turn it in and I get feedback, right?
Yeah. Well, but that's back to my point about like being intentional about what it is that you need. Because for me, when I started journaling, I started Googling journal prompts. So
Hmm.
like I printed out like a list of like 30 prompts. And then once I got through those, I looked up another list of prompts. And that was helpful for a while. And then it was more free writing, and that was helpful for a while. And now it's like, when you talk about having your ideas and stuff like that, um, my fingers are quick on the iPhone keyboard. So so I have my journal, like my pen and paper journal, which is what I described as sometimes free writing and sometimes one sentence and sometimes a letter. And I keep my phone with me all day, and I have like the notes app and I are best friends. Like I have no problem like just in the middle of the day, like free typing about like an idea or putting my to-do list in the morning, like on the notes app and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you brought in technology because, yeah, you do. You have to find what works for you. And when I started all the like to-do lists and action items and calendar and all the things, everything was digital. And now I'm intentional about when I turn off screens and when I turn on screens. And so my morning and my PM routine are completely like paper, pencil, no screens, but that's an intention for me and I have reasons behind that. But yeah, you have to find what works for you and also knowing you are evolving constantly and growing. And so is any type of routine or habit that you're embedding into your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Um, Checking over on Facebook real quick. Everybody, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us live. Go ahead and drop any questions in the chat, and we will get to them here shortly. Um, Also, just like comments if something resonates with you, if you journal or you struggle with journaling or boundaries, anything like that, throw them in there and we will get to them. So, kind of talking about routines and journaling and things like that. I'm just curious. I like to ask all of my guests if they have any daily non negotiables.
Yeah, so my husband makes fun of me for this. But I am a bath person, more so than a shower person. And I do take showers, like I'll take a quick one at night before I go to bed. But I love to take baths in the morning because it's where I get some of my best ideas. Just sitting in the tub, enjoying the nice warm water and everything is a relaxing place for me. So, that is something that became part of my morning routine. It's like I don't care if I need to get up like an extra 30 minutes earlier so that I can just soak. Like it's worth it to me.
I
um
love that.
my as far as my night routine goes, it is that shower. It is that again, the notes app on my phone. I like to brain dump anything that's on my mind because I am that person that if I don't do that, I will wake up at like 1 in the morning, like searching for pen and paper and all that stuff, or just sitting in bed, like thinking about things that I don't need to be thinking about. I need to be sleeping. So I like to do that nice brain dump. And then beyond that, um, I always talk to my clients about self care
Hmm.
and about how people can only love you at the level that you love yourself. So, making sure that you're really taking that time to take care of yourself and understanding that, you were talking about we grow and evolve and we need different things. but this happens day to day. So time to myself is a non-negotiable for me. Like I said, with my husband, when I'm working from home now, but when I leave my home office and go into the living room or kitchen or whatever, he knows to give me a few minutes. But also I make sure I take additional time for myself every day, and it's a matter of listening to my body. There are times when my brain and my soul need to be fed. So that is listening to a podcast or reading. Um, there are times where I need to feel prettier. So I'm going to go get my hair done. I'm going to go, get my nails done or something like that. There are times where I need to not think. And that is where Ratchet Reality TV comes in. You know what I mean? But like taking that time to myself and understanding that, I need to listen to myself and understand, okay, what is it that I'm feeling that I need right now? There are times I feel, I have great family. I have my husband, I have my friends, but there are times where I feel lonely. So that might mean that I need to take some time with God and prayer and meditation. That might mean that I'm feeling lonely because I've been working too hard lately and I feel disconnected. So I need to call up a friend of mine or call my sister and like just have a nice conversation and connect with a human again, you know?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, each day I ask myself, like, what do I need for myself today? And then being comfortable with whatever that answer is.
I love that. Um, especially, so you mentioned now you're working from home, and it can get so easy to start feeling blue or disconnected without realizing it. And so being able to listen to that and reach out and do something about it to kind of shift your vibes. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, get back into the joy and the flow. Awesome. Um and then I am so excited that you are willing to share a mini course about how to set boundaries. And because I know that is just such a big need for so many people, myself included. Um, and so go ahead and talk about what the mini course is, and I will drop the code or the link in the chat.
Yeah, so the course is called Breakthrough Boundaries, and it is it's the quick primer on how to get started with setting boundaries. You know, enforcing boundaries is like a muscle. The more you do it, the better you become at it. And especially once you start to see the results, you start to see how your own life improves. And you also start to see how like your relationships improve with other people, like because you're not resenting them. Yeah. Once you get to that point, okay, it's like the idea behind the course is to show you like how do you start on that path, and then after I help you start on that path, then you'll continue to do the work and be like, okay, like Keisha taught me this, and now I'm going to try this, and I'm like, okay, this works really well for me, or you know, I started having conversations like with the starters suggested in the course. And now I'm going to see if like maybe I start this conversation this way, things like that. But it's to get you on that path so that you can start feeling comfortable with setting those boundaries.
I love that. Thank you so much for offering that to the listeners. I put it in the live comments now. Go check that out. And then it'll also be in the show notes, replay notes, wherever you're accessing it from. You will have access to that link. And speaking of links, where do you hang out the most? Like, where can people really get in touch with you and start getting to know you and following you?
Definitely Instagram. TikTok is secondary, but definitely Instagram. So yeah, I am at Keshia Rice, KESHIARICE. Actually on both TikTok and Instagram, I'm at Keshia Rice.
Oh, good.
And yeah, you can DM me. In fact, if you DM me, you can get the code for that course for free. It's a great value if you don't, but if I love free stuff, so So yes, if you DM me, you can get the course for free. And yeah, I love getting questions about like how to get on this path because I don't want to say it's hard. It is it's not hard once you're really intentional about it and once you can start visualizing the end goal and that life that you want to create and you really commit to that vision when you're like, okay, I can clearly see what I want. This is what I have to do to get it. Cool. Let's do this. But that start can be really difficult.
Yeah.
So, that is one of my biggest things is that you're a coach. I'm a coach. So we both know that like at the end of the day, what we really give our clients is a start because we're not going to be working with them for 50, 60 years. Uh, but I want to make sure that I give that real push, that real momentum that's like, okay, once I get on this, the ball's rolling and my life is really going to change and it's going to change for the better.
I love that so much. Yeah, I part of my coaching program is teaching people how to self coach so that they don't need me forever, so that they can evolve and outgrow me and
Yeah.
keep going, right? I'm here for a phase and to get you to the next phase. So, yeah, that's awesome. um, well, this has just been so delightful. Anything else that you want to make sure that you share with the audience tonight?
Um, Besides, shameless plug again to follow me on Instagram.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. I want women in particular, like men too, but I want women in particular to know that the world does not fall apart once you decide to take care of yourself.
Mm.
You and I were talking before we started recording. My grandmother just passed. And one of the biggest lessons that she taught me was, I always saw her as being so confident. I always saw her as not caring what people thought. Um, I can be a little sarcastic, and it came from her. It came very honestly from her. And, as I got older, I started asking her about like where she got her confidence from and, you know, how it was that she was able to go through life not caring. And, she was very clear with me that it wasn't a matter of she didn't care. It wasn't a matter of, like her feelings didn't get hurt sometimes or things like that. But she grew to realize that at the end of the day, you know, there's a Bible verse that says, out of the heart, everything else flows. And at the end of the day, if she can't get her heart right, if she can't be in integrity with herself, if she can't feel good about the decisions that she makes and about the relationships that she has, that like nothing else is ever really going to go right.
I love that. Just really the importance of listening and then taking the action to be aligned. Like once you know what alignment would look like, then if you don't do the actions to get there, yeah, you're just kind of spinning your wheels.
Yeah.
So, um, and condolences about your grandmother. But what an amazing uh, role model that you had to see a woman who was confident and had boundaries and had learned those lessons. So that is absolutely beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. We talk so much about like the strong woman and, women being able to do it all and everything. But, the thing that she taught me about femininity and what it means to be a woman is understanding that it's not about doing all these things. It is about being the type of person that you can look back on your life and be proud of yourself. It's about being the type of person that you are not trying to do things and manipulate things and push things around and make stuff happen, but you're the type of person who's trying to share a good life with other people with.
That just that generosity is, yeah, that's awesome. What a what a beautiful memory of your grandmother. Awesome. Okay. Um, Real quick, too, while we have you, I know you also have a podcast. I don't have the link handy, but if you kind of talk about it, then I will make sure that the link makes its way into the show notes and replay notes. But go ahead and share where it's at, what it's called, and kind of your focus of it.
Yeah, so the podcast is called Confidently Cherished. Um, you were a guest, and I always share my episodes in my Facebook group, and I got good feedback from that episode. So
Well, that's good.
but yes, confidently cherished is about just that sentiment of being like confident and being loved and taken care of, and out of that, using that type of confidence to really create the life that you love and to also truly make life better for like the people around you and the people that you love as well. So, I talk about dating, of course. I talk about relationships and also the things that are related to that. So, like setting boundaries about money and how it affects relationships, and your health and your faith and spirituality and how they affect relationships. I always tell people that all relationships are related. So, like, as a dating coach, when a woman comes to me with issues with dating and, finding the right partner, she usually also has issues with her parents or coworkers or friends and things like that. So, it's understanding that all of these are related. And as you work on this area of your life and like love and dating and relationships, you'll see the other areas improve too. And also, as you work on other areas, you'll see your love life improve as well.
I love that. Yes. What's the saying? A rising tide raises all ships.
Yeah.
Or boats. I don't.
Yeah.
Same thing. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. If you focus intentionally on improving one area of your life, it's amazing how other areas also improve. But if you try to spread your focus thin and improve all areas, then you're just kind of get stuck there. So 100% one direction, not 10%, 10 different directions, right?
Yeah. Or even like I think it's okay to work on multiple things, but to be intentional about what the multiple is.
Hmm.
Like, I want to have a great marriage. Now, there are 50 million different things that I could do to improve my marriage. Um, this year, for my husband and I, it has been how can we spend an hour more together a week than we have been? At the same time, I want to improve my health. There are a million things that I can do to do that. You and I talked before this recording. I had an injury a few years ago. I'm now going to physical therapy for that. I want to make more money, a million more things I can do for that. I want to just put myself out there more. Like I have a set goal for, how many live streams I want to do and how many podcasts I want to be on and things like that. Like those are three manageable things that I can all tackle at the same time. But if I was trying to like become superwoman and make my life perfect in all these areas, it's a recipe for burnout and disappointment.
Yeah. Um, what I like about the example you shared is that it is still focusing on, because I say like 1 to 3, focus on 1 to 3 areas of your life, but so many of them come back to how you choose to set boundaries with your time management, right? You
Yeah.
said, I want to improve my marriage. One way to do that is spending 1 hour a week more with my husband. And so what has to shift, right? If that is
Yeah.
now a priority on your calendar, you find time for it, you put it on there, you keep the boundary sacred. And same with when you choose to work on your health and when you choose to do your live and do your podcast. So much of it comes back down to boundaries. And valuing your time and how you spend it, because that's one commodity we can't get back, right?
Yeah. And it's, if you don't schedule your time, people will schedule it for you,
Mm-hmm.
especially as a woman. Because, you know, we're nurturers, we're caregivers, people come to us with problems. And that's all well and good. Like, I genuinely want to be there for my friends. I want to be there for my sister. I want to be there for my mom. Um, but, if there are 24 hours in a day and, you know, all this time, and like you think about what that is in a week and a month and all that, no one is going to die if I spend an hour with my husband with my phone on silent. No one's going to die if I'm in physical therapy for an hour and again my phone is on silent. Like, there are plenty of other hours where they can fit in.
Mm-hmm. Right. And if someone does happen to pass away and like literally die in that hour, like there was nothing you could have done by answering the phone at that moment or looking at your
Right.
phone at that moment that would have stopped that from happening, right? Um, so yeah, I love that. Well, oh my goodness, I could just sit here and converse with you all night. But we'll go ahead and start wrapping up. So, links are in the comments and I'll get them in the show notes and everywhere. Just thank you so much for joining us tonight and sharing your wisdom all around boundaries and relationships, and then all the other things that kind of go along with that. It's been super fun connecting with you. Everyone go connect with Kesha on her Instagram and go check out that mini course about setting boundaries. And we just ask, if you find value out of this episode, that you share it with someone that you think would also benefit from it, because sharing is caring. Unless it's COVID, then keep that to yourself.
Yes, yes, yes. Please keep coming to yourself.
Or apparently the stomach flu, because you just had that. That's going
Yes.
around. Keep any germs to yourself, please. Um, so also just leaving a podcast review is always so very appreciated, for myself or any other podcast that you listen to, such as Confidently Cherished. And I'm going to drop a link where you could go directly to ratethispodcast.com/Khalil. That's Calyl for Create a Life You Love. And you can quickly and easily leave a um, review on any podcast platform of your choice, wherever you catch them at. And next Tuesday, we're going to be chatting with Marie Gettle Gilmartin, and she is the founder of Fertile Ground Communications. She's a writer, a podcaster, and a marketing communications consultant who loves to help her clients communicate clearly and painlessly. And she's going to be sharing how to become resilient and thriving. And so you'll be able to find that live in the Create a Life You Love community or catch it on your favorite podcasting platform. So, same time, same place next week. And just everyone enjoy the journey. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Create a Life You Love podcast. I would love to hear from you about your biggest takeaways. Share them with me on Facebook or Instagram at Create a Life You Love Coaching. If you love this podcast, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. That's it for now. Enjoy the journey.